Welcome, folks, to the first interview of Koraniyule. It's supposed to be on the other channel, but unfortunately I have a strike, so it's on this channel. I will put it all on the same playlist so people can find it if they want. And we have John in backstage, and I'll add him now. Hello, John.
Hey, Claire, how you doing?
I'm okay, I suppose.
So what happened to your other channel? It got striked, huh?
Well, it was my fault completely because I was talking to Vincent, and then uh, I knew the World Cup was on, and I wanted to have a look at it, and I thought I would entertain people with the match, and then I got a strike. Obviously, it should have been obvious that I was reaching copyright when I um, shared the screen, and there was no need for me to do it, but sometimes my brain just falls out, and that
That's a
was the
shame.
reason
I
for
mean, for
it.
something that's as simple as that, and they're gonna give you a strike, man. They could have done was like take down the video and let you keep your channel. you know, Jeez.
Yeah, and it was quite an interesting chat with Vincent, but it was 2 hours, so maybe I saved people from listening to 2 hours of Vincent and me, and I guess I think that must be the silver lining in that particular cloud.
So I see you've been talking to Vincent for quite a lot lately, and is he a Noahide? I seen you've been promoting Noahidism with him.
Well, he promotes no-heightism for the twisted reason of wanting to put people off social conservatism. And he thinks because no-heightism is so bloodthirsty in its death penalties, he thought promoting it would get social conservatives to rear their ugly head and then be crushed by all the social liberals. I
Ugh.
think, I think that was his clever plan.
Yeah, I see. All right. You can't expect, you can't expect much anymore. And I what I realized, Claire, is that talking to people on at the internet, it's you try your best and you try to be reasonable, but I find that people are just not reasonable. They have their own agendas, they have their own twisted, like you say, their own twisted agenda, and there's no talking to these people. I don't think there's any dialogue. Have you have had success on YouTube having a dialogue with people?
Well, it's on and off because because if it's all ideas, you never really know. You can't measure success of ideas. You might have somebody agree with you, and then they'll change their minds a bit later. I mean, Vincent is good in the sense that he understands the rules and he uses the rules to accomplish his agenda, whether for good or evil. At least he is working within the rules and he is reasoning within the constraints of the rules. And he might say, these rules mean this, or it doesn't mean execution, it means maybe a fine or whatever. But at least um, he is thinking like a lawyer. But for other people, I don't think they get it at all. um, that what I'm promoting is basically a new system of rules, and it could work for them, if they're social conservatives. But the thing is, I don't think most people in the West are social conservatives. The orthodoxy is that the liberal, and if you're liberal, you're social you're a social liberal, and that means you're okay with gay marriage and transgenderism as well as sex before marriage, and you can't see the point of
Right.
staying married if you get bored and irritated with your partner. And since all or most children are come from single families, that they don't think it's such a terrible thing to be brought up in a fatherless home. I think that's how they think. They
Yeah.
don't care. And the government doesn't care. The government is encouraging them to think it doesn't matter. And in the meantime, um, and replacing them, this great replacement theory. I mean, I think it is true. It's like the government. Okay, it's like you have kids, and then you decide you don't like them, and you think the neighbor's kids are nicer, so you're nicer to the neighbor's kids than your own. But the reason why your own kids turn out badly is because you didn't care about them.
That's a funny way of putting it, but it may be a good. It might be the way to describe it. To be honest with you.
Yeah, and they're basically saying we don't care about you. You can't work. You just go on welfare. You have no use for us since you don't work, and we need our corporate donors need cheap immigrant labor, and that's why we're conspiring to import them into the West, and white but proletariat will object. Well, it's like, well, you can't work anyway, so what are you complaining about? We are replacing you, but because these people that we take the trouble to import aren't prepared to work, and you're not. I mean, if this were put to them, they might say, "Oh, well, maybe we'll work harder, but you have to help us. And you have to train us. You have to educate us, and But if they're not even told what the problem is, how can they correct themselves? They'll just blame the Jews or what, and hate the
Yeah.
Muslims, and the trouble with these anti-immigration parties is that they don't talk about things like, oh, education and training and marriage and family values and whatever. Um, but yeah, I don't know if you've been listening to the stuff that's been happening in Britain with the William and Kate and William's uh, what godmother who was basically kicked out of Buckingham Palace for asking too many times of a non-white woman where in the world she came from, and
Right.
apparently that's racist.
What a crazy concept, right? I mean, asking someone where they come from,
No, but the thing is, it's so crazy that they didn't defend her. That Buck House did not defend this
Yeah.
83-year-old woman who, were thinking, well, I never knew it was racist to ask a non-white person where they came from. You know, I mean, you didn't even know that the rules had changed. If there was some sort of old BBC program or some public announcement like, "Oi, white people, you're not supposed to ask, non-white people where the hell in the world they came from," and they'll think, "Okay, well, better not then." But they
Right.
were never told. They were
But
never
yet we're
told.
the colonizer. But yet the non-whites go around accusing us whites as being just colonizers and that we should go back to where we came from. And there's news media outlets here in America saying that we stole the land, get off the land. This is native land. You don't belong here. So it is an anti-white. And I don't know how people can't see this. It seems to me, I'm from my deductive reasoning that it is an anti-white agenda happening. I mean, you're basically
And it
pushing
started by white people,
white
though.
people. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
self-hating white people. It's like, eventually they're going to come and get you. I mean, because the culture of, I mean, my previous stream was about how this culture was in the BNP. Obviously as a political activist, I mean, the British National Party, is a nationalist, well, anti-immigration political party. So people are just going to want to accuse you of being a racist and a Nazi at every turn, and but they don't defend you, you see. So I mean, you can use arguments like, oh well, since when was it racist to ask somebody where they came from, even if they came, even if they were not a member of your race. I mean, they could be formulating arguments, couldn't they? But they don't even do that. I
right.
mean, that is the weird thing, isn't it?
It
At
could have
least
been a
defend yourself.
genuinely. It could have been a genuinely a genuine mistake, right? I mean, a black person could be born in England. She doesn't have to necessarily be a foreigner, right? So it's an honest mistake. on both ends. I mean, okay, so a white woman asks a black woman where she comes from where in Africa does she come from? Is that really like is that really something that you can't deduce? I mean, obviously we do identify from the color of our skin and other traits, from where people come from in the world. And what exactly is it that is wrong with that question? What
Nothing. It's
exactly?
just that this woman chose to get offended about it. Like, people can't ask boring, repetitive questions like it's, oh, not that boring question again. But, it might not have any, malign intention, and people just genuinely don't know, and they want
Right.
to, and they don't understand why you're getting so annoyed about an innocent question about, well, where did you come from? Did you come far? I mean, this is kind of small talk for English people.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
come far to get here?
Right.
You
Do
know?
you do you think
And
that
then you talk about
majority?
your train journey or whatever, and that's
Hmm.
your small talk.
So from someone, is it okay for me, Claire, to say that you are a how would I identify you, Claire? Would you say that you're a minority in England, or what would you categorize yourself as? An Asian woman, a British woman? What would you consider yourself?
Well, okay, these days I don't know. You know what I favour? I favour
Okay.
the police race codes, which is IC1, IC2, IC3, 4, and 5. And that keeps it nice and simple because, they're just numbers and people are not going to go, oh, I might come from, you think I'm African, but I actually don't come from, whatever, silly little, twist that they want on
Do
their
you think?
identity.
Do you really think that people should be reduced to numbers, though? I mean, isn't that taking away your humanity in a way? You're just
Well,
a number. You're just a cog in a wheel. You're just a
Well,
number,
no, because
basically.
if what you, I mean, because the police race codes is like they just want the visual identifier. Because
Mm,
they're in one cop car saying to another cop car that an IC3 male wearing a red hat is coming their way, and they just want the visual identifiers. They don't care what this suspect thinks he is or whatever. They're gonna they'll deal with that in the interview room, right?
right. They just want an
They just
objective
want
way
a
of like.
visual identifier. So copper can spot the suspect and apprehend him or follow him or whatever they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So if it's a visual identifier, then you don't have to go, oh, but I don't come from wherever. So as far as I'm concerned, I whatever is going, I'll fit into it. But recently, uh, well, this week, in fact, Westminster City Council is saying we're not going to call non-white people BAME, and BAME stands for Black, Asian, Minority, Ethnic, which
Okay.
means basically non-white. Okay, but so that and they say, oh, we're going to call these BAME people the global majority.
Right.
That's what they actually said, okay?
Well,
But
so
all these labels have
yeah.
implications, right? And the implication of this is that white people in their own homelands are now the global minority.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a way of putting white people down, right? It's a way of
Yeah,
being,
of
instead of
course.
being positive about the situation, it's a way to be negative. I mean, there's got to be tons of ways to identify a person, right? I'm sure there's category. I'm sure me and you can come up with lots of better categories, but the way it seems like they just want to do the most negative and the most belittling to white, like, or European, or however you want to say it, British Europeans. I mean, it's just like that's just so silly. The global majority. I mean, I thought we were one race, one people. I thought we were. I thought they were spewing the whole. I don't see race. We're all together in it together. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even the I can't say online, but the homo flag. They have the rainbow, and then they have black and brown stripes now. I mean, where's the different types of? I mean, is that all it is? A human
Are
being?
there any white stripes in the?
Are they even white stripes? I
I
don't even.
don't think so.
I don't think so. They're like even you know what I mean. They want to include so even the gays want to include everyone but straight people, everyone but white people, everyone but Christian people, right? It's they want everyone. If you're a male, white, Christian, European, like you're excluded no matter what. You're not part of the system, which is funny because a lot of these people in the system are self-hating whites. It is so it's just so disgusting, and I don't know why what's wrong with the white man is what I is my question, Claire. What the
Well,
hell is going
I'm
on?
saying it's all you can boil it down to religion. White people don't have a religion to protect themselves with. That's why they
Mm.
have no principles. That's why they can never, they can't defend a principle. They can't defend each other. They don't know what the hell they're supposed to do. And so they're kind of, well, an open go, really.
Well,
And also the constant changing of names and labels confuses people. So okay, okay, I think I know the purpose behind them, but a lot of people will just not be able to catch up. And it's like, well, for black people, it's like, what do they want to be called? Because sometimes, okay, what was his name? The actor, Benedict Cumberbatch, the guy
mm,
who
yeah,
played
big
Holmes.
time. Yeah, he's a big time movie
Yeah,
star.
he's
Yeah,
a big time, and I know he was trying to be polite when he was talking about a coloured gentleman. He wasn't trying to be racist. He wasn't using the N word, and then people just went ape.
well, what
It's
did
like,
he? What happened
well,
with
I
him?
didn't know it was a bad word to use.
I didn't hear about this. What did he say? He said the word colored.
A coloured gentleman. He was talking about some. Yeah, he said coloured gentleman. So he
What a
wasn't
fool.
being
So he
rude
was
or
being
anything.
polite and respectful, and they're saying that he was a hateful, racist, hate
Yeah, it's
monger.
like, oh, you used the wrong word.
Yeah, he should have called him the N word. What was he thinking? Right? I mean, what a disrespectful prick, huh? So we're gonna cancel him now. We're not gonna put him in any movies. We're gonna ban him from Hollywood. We're gonna put him in a corner and hose him down until he knows the correct terminology. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna beat him over the head until he submits. But you're absolutely right. I think the West. I think one thing you've been always right about is that Christianity is deader than the fake God that they worship. Right? Christianity is deader than Jesus. It's gone. Well, you know what? Even when it was even when it was its full zenith, it didn't really have any really good principles anyway. I mean,
No,
Christianity.
because the whole idea of it was like, just shut up and pray to Jesus if you're upset. Obey the laws of your Christian monarch.
Yeah,
And the laws may change and it may upset you, but if you get upset, pray to Jesus. And that's it. I mean, they're not encouraged to ask questions. I mean, church services are just a show, right? I mean, that's the whole point of them. I mean, some Catholic masses can be beautiful, but you're not encouraged to ask questions.
yeah.
And if
And
you
you're
ask
not
too many
encouraged.
questions, you get into trouble, like poor Lady Hussey.
I mean, you're not encouraged to do anything, really. I mean, in the church, you're not encouraged. I mean, there's no encouragement of anything. I mean, take Judaism for example, or Islam. I mean, within their people groups, they're encouraged to keep the kosher laws of what they eat.
They're
You
also
know,
encouraged to ask questions. I mean, I don't know
question.
if you've
Yeah.
been to these um, what they call shurim, is it?
Oh, sure.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. Talks. Yeah, discussions.
sermons,
Yeah.
yes. And
Sermons.
the people are encouraged to join in and ask questions. And the rabbi might occasionally ask his congregation questions and then tell them off if they get the answer wrong.
Right. That's right. I think Judaism, it has the idea of that. The Torah. Yeah, even though it's the word of God and it's the way of life of all times, no matter what generation you're in. Life still changes, and that's why you have to adopt and add to it, and that's why you have the Talmud. That's why you have the Zohar. That's why you have a lot of the Jewish writings and sages of and the same thing with Islam. Islam. You know, when I see Muslims around here, they only eat at certain places. They only talk to certain people. They only do certain things because, like we were saying earlier, they're encouraged to be who they are. They're encouraged to be a Muslim. They're encouraged to be a Jew. If you're Jewish, you can't be seen with a trafe at a trafe restaurant. You can't be seen with a whore. You can't be seen with Bob the drug dealer. You can't. You know what I'm saying? So you can't be seen at a bar drunk.
There are rules
There's rules,
about
right, that confine
who
you
you
as
can associate with.
right. So as a Muslim, as a Jew, you're always going to preserve who you are because it's like ingrained in you. But a white person, I mean, what exactly does it mean to be white nowadays? That you're one of 1 million different gender. You have rainbow hair. You have tattoos all
You
over your
have no
body.
religion. I mean,
Yeah, it's disgusting. I find white people, to be honest with, I be honest with you, I find white people absolutely disgusting, and it's just the way they look. They're just ugly. They got tattoos all over their face. They got piercings all over their face. They have all different color hair. They're spewing a bunch of nonsense about how they love it. Five guys in their ass every day. It makes me want to puke. It makes me want to. It's sick. And it's like, I mean, Claire, I feel bad. I mean, in a
I
way,
feel bad for them.
I love the fact that Muslims are taking over England because I know that I know Muslims are taking out the trash. They're getting rid of a lot of people complain, oh, we can't go out at night because Muslims are protecting the streets. Well, good. Oh, I can't go to the bars because I can't be a drunk anymore. Good. Oh, I can't be a drug addict. I can't be a degenerate. Good. I'm glad that there's Muslim no-go zones and that they're keeping people in check. I don't want that anymore. They don't want that for their women. They don't want that for their children. You think they want their children to be like that? So I say good. So I'm on the side of Islam at this point, and I think that's like, I don't know how that would fit in with the solution of what you're saying.
Yeah,
How
yeah. Well. I mean, I think we are agreed. It's like I think whatever age or country you are, it's like if you can't beat them, you have to join them. I mean, that's an American expression, isn't it?
that's true. Yeah. I
And
mean, look at what
this is
America's
kind of
doing.
like, hmm?
Look at what America's doing. They're playing football with Muslims, right? They're going to a Muslim country and they're wearing their homo jerseys, promoting
Hmm.
homo behavior, disgusting sodomites in a Muslim country. What is that supposed to prove? Then I'm reading an article, right, that they say, oh, once the football tournament's over, we're going to crack down on the gay community. So they're actually making it worse. They're going to go around the world. And then I saw this other video, Claire. I don't know if you ever saw this video, but there was a guy in Poland. There was a bunch of American soldiers in Poland, and there was a guy accosting the American soldiers saying, "Get out of Poland. We don't want Americans here spreading homosexuality. We don't want soldiers spreading your filth here." I loved it. I was laughing my ass off, man. And that's what we should do. We should accost these people. We should accost them and tell them to get the hell out. We don't want them here anymore. We don't want their disgusting behaviors. We don't want their filth, their nonsense. I mean that's the only way you can do it is put your foot down, don't you think, Claire? You stiff up a lip, stiff up a lip, put your foot down, and just say enough's enough.
Yeah,
You know,
and these are the new rules.
new rule, yeah, sure. Well, the new rules coming back in fashion because they've always been there, right? Don't you think these rules have always been there since the beginning, since
Yeah,
Adam and
and
Eve?
they were there for a reason. It's like, well, here's your group. You do want to continue in existence, after you are dead. Well, then you have to have children. And but even if you can't have children, you should support the principle that others should have children and
Right.
stay together. You know, I mean, nobody's saying, oh, you have to be married before you can support, marriage and family values. Because years ago it was what Dolce and Gabbana, and they were these two gay
Yeah.
Italian designers, and they're saying, well, we support the family because it's important, because even gay people, have to be born out of a heterosexual union.
Well, now they don't have to do that now. They don't have to worry about breeding. What they do is recruit people. I mean, just recruit you at like 5 years old. I mean, there's stories here in the United States, Claire, that if an like there's a story here that happened, I think, in California. An 8-year-old told their teacher that they wanted to be a girl. A boy wanted to be a girl. So the school helped the kid transition, take it to the doctor, get the medicine, drugs to destroy the body. Didn't tell the parents. Then the parents found out and said, "Wait a minute, you can't do this to my kid. We don't want this." They said that the parents were hateful bigots. The government came in with child protective services, took the child away from the parents, and then the government helped to chop off the dick or whatever. That's the type of sick behavior that we got going on here, Claire. That you're literally the state will step in and call parents bigots because the way they want to rear their children in a healthy home. I you know
Yeah, I
it,
think that they're passing a law, or well, have passed a law saying, if your child thinks it's gay or wants to transition, you can't argue with it.
you can't argue with it. Yeah,
Yeah, because it's something called conversion therapy. They're banning it or something. So it's like saying your children aren't your own. You can't even reason with your
you're
kid.
property of the state. You're property of the agenda. You're like this is why I find like people like Vince. I can't listen to him because it's like ugh. This is what we're getting. I mean, this is the people that are running the world now. I don't know what happened, Claire. I mean, do you know what? I mean, it seems like when I was a child, this type of behavior wasn't going on. Was just, I was what 15, just 15 years ago. You know what I mean? I mean, in high school, I didn't remember this stuff going on in the late 90s, early 2000s. What exactly, Claire? I mean, you're a little older than me. Did you see this coming? Did you see us falling off
No,
the cliff?
no, I could never. But it's accelerating. That's a thing. The madness is widening, more quickly
It's
and
quick.
deepening more quickly, and
Yeah.
and and people don't even they weren't informed. I mean, then maybe people say, well, whatever the rules are, we'll obey it. But tell us first what the rules are, because otherwise we won't know. And actually, this reminds me of a time in China when the rules were also changing so quickly under Mao, and that they have this sort of group of people saying, called the whatever-ists. And the
Mm.
whatever-ists were saying, well, whatever Mao says the rules are, we haven't got the latest version, we agree with it, whatever it is. That was how bad things were in China.
So it's just cult a person. It's like a cult personality or whatever the terminology is. It's just people are just worshiping the cult leader and whatever the cult leader decides that day. He has a bug up his ass, so he says this one thing, everyone believes it. Then
And
the
then he
next
might change
day,
his mind the next day, and this will
oh,
put people obeying his orders yesterday in a bad position.
so it's mental
Because that
illness.
is the problem when the rules change so quickly that people can't actually keep up, even though they actually mean to obey it, but they can't keep up with the latest version.
So it's just mental illness is what you're basically saying.
Well, yes, but also I'm saying that the reason why we think we're going mad, or we think our leaders are going mad, is that they keep changing their minds. As you would expect a lunatic to keep changing their minds or never be able to make up their minds. And that would actually make a theocracy more appealing, because it's like, well, if you're a theocracy and you follow God's laws, I mean, God is not going to change his mind, because he knows what he's about. And even people who deny the existence of God will know what his laws are.
Hmm. But what makes it so? I mean, it's just so dramatic, though. I mean, it feels like the whole world is just mad. It doesn't seem like even the individuals aren't. How do I put this? The majority of people don't even have values anymore. I mean, they're like, is it just like the common person just, or what is it? They're just they're in what is it? They just I can't think of the term. They fell into submission. Like they just gave up. Like every day, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we got people like you out here, Claire, that's speaking up and speaking out. But it seems like the everyday person just kind of like complacent. Oh, that's the word I'm looking for. Like the everyday normal person is just complacent to what's going on. Doesn't it seem that way?
Well, yes, because they don't think it affects them because it's like, oh well, these they haven't come and they're not coming to get me. But when they finally go for you, it'll be too late. I mean, like Lady Hussey and members of the royal family. I'm sure she never expected to be kicked out of the palace for asking somebody, where they came from. And then to find that Buckingham Palace didn't even bother defending her.
Yeah,
They
that's
just
that's
caved in.
crazy. So it's like that old saying, they came for the gypsies, so I wasn't a
Yeah,
gypsy,
yeah,
so I didn't
that's
speak
the
up,
one.
right?
And
They
they came
came
for
for
the
then they came
trade
for the Jews.
unionists.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's basically what you're saying. It's like people are just living their lives with their head in the sand like an ostrich, saying, "Oh, everything's okay for me. I'm okay. Okay, maybe inflation is bad, maybe the rent went up, but I'm still getting by, even though the world's burning down around them." That's basically how people are thinking, is what you're saying. Yeah, I
Well,
think that's true, to some degree. I think
yes,
that's
yes.
true.
I mean, it is so obviously true because if you are, if you think, oh, I'm just okay. I equate it to all these chickens in a cage, and every now and then a hand from above, reaches in to grab a
Grab it
chicken.
by a neck. Yeah,
Yeah, and then and then there's a squawk, they're squawking, and then it goes quiet again. And I guess if the chickens think, it's like, well, I hope it's not me next time because, well, there's nothing else I can do other than
right,
to hope it's not me next time. And I think the generalized atheism doesn't help because atheists are cowards, right? I mean, they if they suffer anything, they'll think, well, I've lost. And so if you don't believe in God, then you won't believe in punishment or reward in the afterlife. And therefore you will value whatever you have in this life, and in this life you would want to fill with pleasure rather than punishment. And that's why nobody will defend a principle
right.
because they don't see it as
They see this
profitable.
temporary world as pleasure, and they have to live it to the life to the fullest. They don't understand the future. They don't have a concept of the afterlife and what's going to happen in the future. Right. I get what you're saying there. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah, but you see, when you think like that, you become worse than a non-human animal because you think
The
the
seven
praying
deadly sins
mantis.
take over. Yeah.
I mean, okay, the praying mantis is a good example. I mean, we know that the male gets eaten by the female after mating, but he does it anyway because he thinks that's what he's supposed to do, even if he risks getting eaten by the
Right.
female.
Because getting his jollies off for just a second is what's the real meaning of life to him, right? The meaning of his life is just blowing a load once, right? So these
And
people,
hoping that he has offspring.
right, right. People don't. You're right.
It
There
is
are
as
people.
basic as that.
Yeah, right. This is what we need people. I mean, they don't even teach. I don't mean to get off too much off topic, but they don't even teach like civics in school anymore. They don't even teach wood shop in school anymore. I mean, they don't teach you basic things that you need to survive. I mean, they just make you into they pre-program you into a robot, which is the essentials that you need to get through basic. Like you were
You just
saying, just keep
follow
you on
the
welfare. Keep you on the government dole. Just enough to get by. You're gonna be the yes man. Yep, yep. We believe everything into the Yeah, I mean it's sad, Claire. I mean, it's
But there is a simple solution, which I guess a lot of people are denying because they hate it so much. They hate the idea that that Christianity has been failing. It's like, it shouldn't be new. What I'm saying shouldn't be surprising at all. If you look at Western history, it's like, well, the wars of the Reformation, they started 500 years ago. What has it resolved?
nothing.
Other than most, I'm
The
sure a
cat
lot of.
the Catholic Church is still vile and disgusting as it always been. I mean, they didn't accomplish anything. The Protestants. I mean, then the Protestants came along and they became just as bad as the Catholics. So I mean, it's like
Yeah, because there are no rules in the New Testament. I mean, this is basically what I've been trying to say. And the thing is, for Americans, I think it's so important because of the Jefferson Bible and the Jefferson Quran, and I'm sure the founding fathers had some inkling of this.
I think
Because
yeah.
they rejected Christianity in order to reject monarchy, or they rejected monarchy in order to reject Christianity. But obviously the founding fathers, censored nothing that they didn't want.
The
They
founding
didn't want
fathers knew that Christianity was
Christianity.
over. The founding fathers knew that Christianity was kaput. They were the original secular Quranists.
Without the secular Quranism, I suppose.
Thomas Jefferson was the original secular Quranist. When you think about it,
My
I mean, look
hero.
what he did. I mean, he rewrote the Bible, to take out all the bullshit, all the nonsense, and just make it and you know what I mean. So, and then he had the Quran. I mean, come on now, what do we go? you know, you
Well,
know,
so I guess the rest of the world is looking to the Americans to say, get with it and understand your own history, and know that and know what you are really supposed to be, an Islamic republic, because
yeah,
well, obviously you need a religion, or the laws will keep changing and drive you crazy.
yeah, yeah. They don't. Yeah, it is. I mean, now they're talking about. I mean, just erasing the Constitution. They're getting rid of it. I mean, there's something nice and holy about the Constitution of the United States. Something unique about it, and it's just like you have that. What I'm trying to? I'm getting a brain fart. I apologize, Claire. I'm not on my A game today as I normally am, but they had a momentum. The founding fathers had like a momentum, and the people squandered it. They didn't keep it going. They didn't keep the. I mean, maybe you could say like the Civil War was like a really eye opening. That maybe the game was over. Maybe it was going to go downhill here soon, fast.
I
But
think they just didn't dare to say that they were proto-Muslim because everybody just they were so neurotic about Christianity that they didn't dare. I mean, I think that the Jefferson Bible is Jefferson speaking to Americans from beyond the grave, saying, look at the Jefferson Quran. It's treated with respect. Look what Jefferson did to the Bible. He basically cut out all the Pauline epistles, right? And
yeah,
and then said, I'm just going to let the bits that the reported speech of Jesus stay in, and then they don't amount to a pile of beans, as far as I can tell. I mean,
yeah.
what did he
Americans were
say
looking.
anyway?
I think Americans were looking for something other than Christianity. And that's kind of why you got Mormonism in a way. I mean, Americans kind of wanted something different. Doesn't it seem that way? I mean, the founding fathers and their progenitors, they were explorers, right? They were, trendsetters. I mean, they were definitely looking
Pioneers.
pioneers, right? Yeah. I mean, it seems that way. And it kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it ended up with Mormonism. I guess I mean, maybe the people just didn't understand Islam. I mean, Islam doesn't necessarily have a good PR representative, a press representative PR, it's not exactly the best, it's,
No, no. I mean, the terrible. But okay. All I'm saying is that Okay, recently I've been asked this question, like, oh, tell us which Muslim country do you consider, fit to lead the world? And I'm saying the reason why Muslim countries haven't been doing well is because they also ignore their own rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't have to sort of prove that Muslims are the best. Because there is a reason why that they're not the number one superpower of the world, because they've been ignoring their own rules, and it is the same as the Americans ignoring their own constitution, which means they're not getting the benefit of their constitution, right? They're not getting the benefit of the First Amendment, and because they won't defend these
Right.
principles, so they're just letting the government do what it likes with it and refusing to enforce it.
Right.
And,
You're
and I
basically
think
saying
fundamentally it is atheism.
people are expecting someone else to do it, is what you're basically saying.
Yeah, because I think it was 2 years ago. I think somebody in the military in America was saying there must be an unquestionable chain of command. And you think, yeah, in the military you need the general to give orders, and you need everybody beneath him to follow his orders, and if they don't, you will be able to find you know the person who failed to pass on orders, who performed his orders badly or something. But at least you can identify where the fault line was. But under our current system of egalitarianism, everybody's passing the buck. And
Right.
I know that it was Harry Truman who said in the 1950s, he had this what in the Oval Office, there was a poster or something that said, the buck stops here,
Right. Yeah. The famous saying, yeah, the buck stops here. Yeah.
and it didn't. It
It
just sort
didn't.
of
Yeah.
got passed even more quickly, and now we really don't know who's in
It used
charge.
to be right. It used to be accountability, right? I mean, people used to be accountable for their actions. If you did something wrong, you were held accountable, and then not only were you held accountable, but you were expected to fix it. You were expected to help, to fix the problem that you made. Right now, people just get shamed. Right? You just, someone asked someone where they came from, and now they're shamed, and they're told to sit in a corner, and that we don't want to talk to you anymore in your own house.
Yeah, in your own house,
It's
and,
in your own
and
house. Yeah.
which is so crazy.
That is this what it's neurotic. I mean, these people are just out of their mind, bonkers. I mean, you would think, well, you would explain why it was wrong. I mean, did they explain why it was wrong to ask her where she came from? No. Well, they
No,
what
but
did they
it
say?
was just because somebody was offended. This
You
guest was
hurt my
offended.
feelings. Right, my feelings were
Yeah,
hurt.
yeah, it's like, well, too bad. I mean, but if you're going to defend, if you're going to say that anything a person of one race says to another person of another race is offended, is racist, then then everybody is racist.
Well, but
And
if
there's
you're
just
white,
no
right?
way
If you're
anybody can
white,
ever avoid offending people. Because
right.
even when we don't want to offend people, they're going to still get offended with us or pretend to be offended, right?
I've been told. Have you had this experience, Claire? That I've been told that minorities tend to be they tend to fake the offended part of they just
Yeah,
do
they
it.
do because it obviously, it raises their status and lowers a person who used the wrong word. It's a word game, right? It's a word game without any rules. Not
Right, and
really
they
any
they kind of
rules.
up now they're seen as like now this poor woman, this poor black woman, she's now going to be the hero for the next week in the media. She's going to be a hero, and she's going to be promoted. Probably
And
get a
encourage
job.
others to complain in a similar way.
Yeah, she'll probably get a
That's what's
pay
going to happen.
raise. She'll probably get a pay raise and a promotion. You know, who was this person anyway? What was she doing there at Buckingham Palace? What was she, a
She
guest?
was
Or
some head
was
of
she the
some charity called something or other. She's from Barbados, and her name is Ngozi Trudeau
So she's
something.
a foreigner from another
Trelawney.
country, and she's offended that someone asked her where she was from.
Yeah.
It'd be like me showing up at Buckingham Palace and they ask me where am I from. What do you mean where am I from? How dare you ask me if I'm from America? So stupid. Oh man. Oh, that's so tough.
Yeah, and the thing is, they okay, but it's this culture of not even defending yourself. That is the most insidious of it,
So
of it all.
what did
It's
the
like they
lady?
have literally given up.
So the lady's name was Hussy.
Yeah,
Oh, like a hussy, like she's a hussy, like kind of like a whore. That's funny.
Lady Husby.
A
But
lady
but she's
hussy.
been working there for 60 years, and they just kicked her out.
So she's working there for 60 years at Buckingham Palace as what, a maid, a servant or something?
Well, she's called a lady in waiting, and I suppose what it means is that you're just you wait on the queen and you defer to her and you talk to her usually.
Oh, so she's like a hostess or something, right? She's like this she organizes the party, the oh, and then
They just keep the queen, entertained, I suppose. I mean, Camilla's calling her people. She's saying, "Oh, I'm not going to call them ladies in waiting. I'm going to call them. I forget now, palace assistants or something.
oh
Just
god,
to be, you know,
politically
with
correct
it or
bullshit. Yeah,
something."
yeah, politically correct bullshit. So this poor woman for 60 years, she so you're telling me this never happened before? You're telling me that all this time that she's been asking people where they come from? Because can you imagine, Claire, that imagine, Claire, for 60 years you've been hosting parties at your house, right, Claire? And then all of a sudden someone comes in and you say, "Oh, nice to meet you. Where you're from?" And they get all offended, and you're literally thrown out of your own house. Like, okay, but I'm sure this would have happened before, right? I mean, so that this is so you're right, Claire. You're saying that rules all of a sudden changed on this woman who probably did the same thing.
83 she is.
She's
83 years
83
old.
years old. She's probably been saying the same thing to the same person for 80, for the past 60 years, right? She does. You think she changed? You think all of a sudden she became racist all of a sudden? Is that what people are deducing? Is this the inference that I'm supposed to make? That all of a sudden a 60-year-old woman, oh, she's a Nazi, she's been collaborating with the Germans this whole time. I mean, come on, give me a break. Give me a
Yeah,
break.
they don't really care. I
They don't
mean,
care
they'll
about.
use anything.
Yeah,
Mm.
this is obviously I mean, I'm not trying to, say anything negative, but this woman obviously made a big stink, just for absolutely no reason. Get over it. So people ask me where I'm from all the time. Get over it.
Yeah, and of course she's now saying, "Oh, I didn't mean for her to get kicked out." You
Oh, what do you
know,
did you mean then? I mean,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
you were.
and she's really improved race relations, hasn't she? You know,
Yeah, she did a great job of making the world a better place. Oh man, Claire.
uh,
It's just, you know what? It's just like, I can understand the people that just want to throw in the towel. I kind of understand these people that they have their head in the sand, and they're la la la. I don't hear you, finger in the ear. But at the same time, you have to speak out, and you got to speak. I mean, where are the people around this woman? Where are the people in Buckingham Palace that are going to speak up for this poor woman? 60 years, you tell me she has no allies, you have no friends, you have no one that can defend her? I mean, you tell me that,
Well, that's the disgrace of it, because if it was me, it's like, well, I'm gonna go down fighting. How dare you kick me out for this stupid reason? I would kick up a stink, but I guess William, what they must have been saying, it's like, oh, you've been around for a while, isn't it time you retired? You're 83 after all. Off you go then. You
maybe
know.
that's what it was. Maybe it was just a way to get her. Maybe it was a setup. Maybe maybe this woman made a stink because she was paid to do it. Who knows? Oh, we want her out. How are we gonna get her out? We'll blow up some liberal nonsense bullshit that's trendy. Oh, she said where you're from. There you go. Boom, out. You know. I
But
don't know.
people just. It's a kind of civilizational madness, isn't it? I mean that it's like, well, why don't you just defend yourself? Why can't you find anybody to defend you? And if you can't find anybody to defend you, well, you're in a pretty bad way, I guess. And this is right at the top, right? This is all the way up. I mean, well, maybe it just means that the
Yeah.
monarchy should be over.
So they were gonna have. I'm sure they're gonna have a nice BAME person doing the lady
Global
in waiting.
majority, they're now called.
Oh, world majority ethnic group. What person probably gonna be the new lady? What are they called now? The servants, public servants, or whatever.
Hmm.
Why don't we just call them slaves? We'll just call them slaves again. Get rid of the fancy names. Master, slave, simple,
Well, in a way, we are slaves. If they can take away, if we have
If they can
children
throw you
and the
out like
state just says we're gonna teach them this shit, and you can't change their mind or try to, or we'll take them away from you. I mean, we are in effect the slaves of the state. We're just breeding the next generation, but we have no right to tell them anything if it's contrary to what the state wants.
this poor woman, where was her day in court? She doesn't even have a day in court. They don't even give her a chance to defend herself, to put up a fight. They just take her out back and put her down like a horse with a broken leg. Like it was. I mean, it's just, yeah. To me, that sounds like slavery. It sounds like
Yeah, I
did
think
they,
dogs are treated better.
dogs are treated better. Shit, yo,
Well, I mean, somebody
damn.
might cry over the dog. But
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
this
Puppy
woman is
ass.
the godmother of the Prince of Wales, and she gets treated like shit.
Oof. Oh man, let's see. Will and I'm at BBC.com, and Will and Kate in Boston amidst palace racism row. Oh Jesus. China eases COVID restriction. I mean, this is what the BBC has today. Come on. Anything new
Well,
happening in jolly old England there, Claire?
somebody was suggesting that all this nonsense was is being released now to distract the British from the official national statistics, which says that three um, major British cities, London, Birmingham, and Manchester, are now non-white majority cities. And I guess
So
they just wanted to distract white people.
London, Manchester, and what was the other one?
Birmingham,
Birmingham. Oh, so white people, so English people are what, less than 50% now?
yeah.
Oof. Well, London was pretty bad for a while, but I didn't know about Manchester. Wow. Oof. I'm
Well,
looking. London.
yeah, yeah.
London. Let me take a look at London here real quick. Give me a second. I'm looking up London. Wikipedia. How many people? London's a pretty big place. What is it, like 10 million people live in London?
Hmm.
Let's see. Total population 8.7 million. Oh, that's let's see. Where's the statistics? I'm looking up statistics here. I'm sure Wikipedia probably doesn't have the let's see what we got here. Oh, it gets pretty hot there. 40 degrees Celsius in the summer. Wow. Okay.
Where?
London gets 40 C in the summertime. I didn't know it got that.
No, I don't think so.
Let's see. I'm trying
I
to.
don't
Oh,
think it can be as hot as that.
let's see. I'm trying to look for. They're hiding it on me probably. The main Wikipedia page doesn't talk about the ethnic makeup of.
Oh, it's the official national statistics. I mean, this is what people have been talking about, the
Oh, the
anti-immigration.
census. Oh, they took a census recently and they found out that they were a minority. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. I did a
So
video.
I think the percentage of white people in Britain has, gone down by 6% or something.
But it's been going down 6% for quite a long time, though. So I mean, okay, 6% today, but it was going down 6% for the past, 50 years.
Yeah, it's a birth rate thing, isn't it? I mean, if you're not having enough babies, then I guess the percentage of your composition, of your racial composition, will reduce from the main
Well,
group.
I'm sure a lot. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of white people that probably move out of London too, and probably move to the suburbs, right? Like here in the United States, they call it in America we have something called white flight,
Hmm.
where white people leave big cities and they move to like the smaller towns. So
Yes,
like
yes.
places like Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, St. Louis, New York, they're not majority white either. They're like 20% white. No white people lives there. That's because in the past 50 years, all the white people moved out of the big cities. They live in
The
rural
suburbs. I mean,
suburbs. Yeah.
people prefer to live in the suburbs, don't they?
Well, they
Eventually.
prefer to live without all the crime and all the killing is what they prefer, right?
Hmm.
I guess we can't really say that, right? What I guess it's politically incorrect to say that. Okay, so it started with Lyndon Johnson, right? Lyndon Johnson had this big. It was called the New America, the Great America, whatever the terminology is that he had. It's kind of like Biden with Build Back Better. Well, he had a
Hmm.
phrase that was kind of like that. So what Lyndon Johnson believed was that he's going to bus in all the minorities to the white towns and the white schools, and even though they live in the ghettos, they're going to move them into the white parts. And did it really work out so well? Is my question. I mean, it kind of had
Well,
the
they should
reverse.
have their own schools, right? They should have. I mean, it doesn't matter what race you are. I mean, ideally, if you're a parent, you want your kid to go to the local school, and hopefully, the school is good enough for your kid, right?
Right,
I mean
right. It
that's
doesn't.
just it doesn't matter what race you are. So if there's a problem with schools in black areas, make them better
Right.
instead
Why?
of busing anybody anywhere.
Right. That's it's the same thing with the immigration policy, right? We right now we have an immigration crisis, right? People from Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, they're all pouring into America, right? Because the border is open. Biden lets them in. So you're having millions of people, right? They're tracking thousands of miles across South America to get to North America, right? So just imagine what's left behind. Could you imagine also all the nastiness that they're leaving behind? It's not going to get better. So you're telling me that a million people that just got up and left, which is mostly men, right, under the age of 30, you just got up and left. You think Guatemala is going to be better in 10 years or worse in 10 years?
Yeah, but because of the brain drain, and it just seems so obvious what should be done. It's like, well, if you want. No, I think the problem is that business organizations
I think the
need
problem
labor.
is that white people made better decisions and made the world a better place. And now everyone wants a piece of the cake instead of just making the world a better place for themselves where they are, is what I think.
Well, yes, I can understand that migrant labor would be following the money, and obviously they'd be going where they think they're going to get paid more and live a better lifestyle. But if you want to stop them from coming, um, you'd have to think, well, why are they coming? Because there's a problem with the labor force. Either they're not trained properly or they won't work. So the purpose of the government is to make them work, but because of representative democracy, um, people don't quite dare tell people off, right?
Mm,
So if you say, oh, you're a bunch of lazy sods, nobody wants to hire you, so you better, pull your socks up and work properly. They'd all get offended and not vote Labour or something.
yeah. Well, I
So,
mean,
so,
they're
so
not any.
obviously the problem is political parties, which George Washington warned against in his farewell speech.
Yeah, that's true. You're absolutely right on that one. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
political
but
parties.
because it's the Americans, you have this 1 year election campaign, which costs enormous amounts of money to run, and all the ads you had to pay for, and making the same speech again and again, all parts of the country. So obviously, if all these political parties go cap in hand to their corporate donors, the donors will expect the politicians to do something for them when they win. And it's the ruling classes actually giving themselves over to corporate America and then complaining.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the. It's again. It's what were you saying before? Harry Truman, the buck stops here.
Yeah.
It's almost like pass the buck here. It's like the opposite. We're passing
Well,
the
it's
buck.
sort of like pass a parcel, right? Pass a parcel or musical chairs, and
Right,
and
musical chairs.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is musical chairs. I mean, there's no accountability because you can't blame somebody like Liz Truss, who was only prime minister for 44
Oh
days. Well, you
God,
can't
what a
blame her for
bimbo!
anything much, can you?
But she was a bimbo though, wasn't she? She just
Yes,
didn't seem
she's
like.
completely stupid. Uh, and anyway, but apparently she gets a sort of massive payoff because she was prime minister.
But
So she
what
gets
happened?
something
So
like,
what happened with Boris? I thought Boris was doing a good job. Why did he end up taking a plunge down the ship pipe? What happened with him? I
well,
don't. I
I
mean,
do think a
Boris
lot of
got
people
a
thought
nice.
he was doing a good job. It starts with a vote of no confidence, and I guess they were blaming him for COVID, and he's pretty unprincipled and quite unpopular with his own party. But I mean, he got the job because he had a show. I mean, he appeared on TV and he told a few jokes, and people liked that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He has a hair like a mop, so he looks funny. He looks like an average Joe, right? A lazy bum that doesn't even comb his hair. Yeah, let's vote for him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I don't even know if it's true that these people even get voted in. Maybe all these polls are rigged.
Yeah. Yeah, but you shouldn't say that though. God forbid.
Oh, I
Uh,
mean the opinion polls. Am I
oh,
allowed to say that I think opinion polls are rigged? By Google and
yeah.
people like that to,
Well, they said there was going to be a big wet red wave here in America. They said that the Republicans going to take over the country, and then look what happened. They won like 2 seats instead of like 15 that they were claiming that they were going to win. So it's all BS. It's all mind control. It makes
but if you're fighting elections, it means you're not getting it right.
yeah,
I think if you're still talking about fighting elections,
yeah, Hong Kong.
you
Yeah, I
don't
get what you're
understand
saying.
the problem.
You got to fix the system before. I mean, you got to fix the. If you're playing with, let's say the game of Monopoly, right? You're playing Monopoly, and you're missing half the pieces, and the board's damaged. Well, how are you going to play a good game of Monopoly? You can't. You have to get a new game of Monopoly
Yeah, with the
before you can
rule
play
book.
Monopoly. Right. So
I
you
mean,
have
the
to.
rule book is the most important thing, isn't it?
So how are we going to have good elections? How are we going to fix anything if we're still playing the broken game that we've been playing for the past 30 years? It doesn't. It's nonsensical. It's nonsense. It's completely meaningless. You're
Yeah,
shitting
but
in one hand and pissing in the other.
yes, yes, it's like trying to fill up a bath with no bath plug.
Right? Yeah. Right. Why isn't the bathtub filling up? Oh, you didn't put the clog. Oh, you dummy. You know, you didn't flip
Mm.
the switch. I mean, come on. Or you're trying to fill up the bathtub and it has holes in it. It's like, well, you got to replace the bathtub. Don't you think?
Yeah, yeah, or and another analogy is a boiler. You have to take out the boiler that isn't working in order to put the new one is that is working.
And why doesn't people get this though? I mean, I don't. Is this a?
No,
I'm
I think it's because the boiler is Christianity and liberalism. It's like, oh, but we love our Christianity. It's holy, and so is liberalism. It's holy. How
yeah,
dare you even talk about replacing it and taking it out with your
but
Islam and replacing it with your Islam? Ugh.
but surely people can see that what Islam is doing right.
Well, I think eventually, they will have to accept that they run out of options.
Well, I take a look. There was a debate I watched on Modern Day Debate against a Muslim and an atheist. Aaron Ra, he's an atheist, and then the Muslim guy, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Daniel Hakikatju?
Yeah, they had a debate. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw that.
So I think Daniel did a good job. I thought
Oh,
he
I
did a
think
good.
so too.
Yeah. Now, what I think the atheist. Now, Aaron Ra made the conclusion that remember he was trying to he did Daniel was breaking his chops because he put out a list saying that all the better countries in the world were white and all the bad countries in the world were Muslim. Now, what if they put the two together? Why don't think about it? If you took all the best countries in the world, right, white countries, which is what the
Hmm.
atheist is saying, and you
Hmm.
take Islam, you would have a super duper uber over 1,000% superior country. I mean, if the
Yeah, if,
atheist
if
is
white
saying
people decided to interpret the Quran properly,
you would have an explosion. You would go crazy. You would have Islam would supercharge England, wouldn't
hmm,
it? Wouldn't it give it a boost that it needs? Wouldn't it give new life to a dead country?
oh, I'm
Wouldn't
sure it
it?
would.
Surely, right? So why couldn't they see that though? I don't understand why Daniel and Aaron Rod can't why can't he just understand that Islam is good? That Islam has the tools and means necessary for a better world. I don't understand why the atheists couldn't see that what Daniel was proposing.
Well, I think the longer
You get
you
what I'm
have
saying? I don't know if I explained myself right. I don't know if I
well,
did.
I
You
think
understand?
Daniel explained himself very well and very clearly. But if your object is to deny the truth because you think you can get away with it because you don't want to be proven wrong, then I guess you'll be finding excuses not to acknowledge the truth, and a lot of people are like that. And I think the longer you've held your views, whatever they are, the less likely you are to change it.
Hmm. Yeah, stuck in your ways. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, because then they have to say, oh, the last 60 years of my life, I believed in a lie. You know, I don't want to admit that. And, and the thing is, we are actually questioning liberalism, and there's been 250 years of it. And also, we are challenging Christianity, and there's been 2,000 years of it. Maybe their pride won't allow them to acknowledge that they're both kaput.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you, Claire.
Hmm.
Well, Claire, I got to get going for work. Is there any last topic
Well,
or
well I
question?
suppose since it's Koraniyule, I would invite you to give us a review of your year if you want to say anything about, how your year has been and share anything about it with us. That would be great, John.
Yeah, the year has been wonderful. This is the year, I guess you can say I converted to Islam. Remember the beginning of the year? Well, technically it was December, like the last week of December, but I went in for marriage. I got my marriage and within the beginning of the year. So I guess this is my first year as a married Muslim man. Look at that,
C-
three M's. Muslim married.
Congratulations. When's your wedding anniversary?
So I guess technically the wedding anniversary is December 31st,
Hmm.
January 1st, December 1st, because we got married at night.
Hmm.
So 1 year at the end of the month. Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty
Wow.
good, pretty cool. Um, yeah, it's been a great year. I think it's been coming out of COVID, right? We had lockdowns last year, and we had the problems. I think we got back and we got back up, and we're rocking and rolling. Clear, but I think you had a successful year too, right? You've been doing pretty good, right? Have you? Well, let me ask you. Let me turn the tides on you. What about your year in review? I would love to hear how your year went.
Well, I met Carol, who's an American Muslim convert, and,
Oh
and
yeah.
and she seems quite keen on secular Quranism and has been very helpful, in saying things to, like nationalists, like, well, you don't like secular Quranism, but have you got a better idea? And she's being so good about that. And I think, this is a question that has to be asked. I mean, we don't need to go into a long lecture about, all kinds of that stuff. It's like, well, okay, if are you sure you don't need a religion because everybody has a religion? And do you think your magic white skin without any rules is going to help you, help protect you from, mean white people and your corrupt and incompetent ruling classes? Do you really think like that? If so, then you really are a white supremacist if you don't think you need religion.
That's a great point, Claire. You make an excellent point. Yeah, they are. I mean, it's kind of like, well, it's not white supremacy in the way that you would think it's white supremacy, but it is kind of like it's kind of, well, retarded, if you ask me, to think that, yeah, somehow you
Well,
manage.
liberal democracy is a kind of white supremacy if you think about it, because white people promote it,
Yeah. Oh yeah, and no one wants it. No one wants it.
including the white people in their own homelands. They hate it.
You should look up Matt Walsh. He did this
Mhm.
documentary, "What Is a Woman," and he went to a black African tribe and told them about how great white people are, and their white liberal nonsense, and they they found it absolutely pathetic. They found it absolutely funny, and they wanted nothing of it. So there you
Hmm.
go. There's your answer. Um,
Okay.
yeah, Claire, have a great day. Have a wonderful rest of the month, and hopefully we catch up soon. Sorry I haven't talked much. I've been so busy this past year with the new house and the new
Right.
wife, and it's just been a lot on my plate. But hopefully we can catch up soon,
That would be
even more.
great. And thank you for joining us for Koraniyule,
I love it.
John. And
I love the concept.
okay,
Take
take
care. God
care.
bless. All right.
Thank you. Bye bye.